It is Wednesday, January 31st, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I am Matt Modi with my 4 favorite NBA player props for tonight. It's been an incredible January. I just ran the numbers right before I hopped on. In the month of January, we are up 22.68 units just in January alone. And the hot streak, the January hot streak, continued yesterday. Yesterday, I gave out 3 picks on this YouTube channel. We got all 3 of those to cash. We ended the day up 3.10 units. Again, that brought our January profit up to 22.68 units. And on the entire year, we are up 45.13 units. So if you are a $100 unit bettor, if you bet $100 on all of my NBA player props, you'd be up $4,500. Pretty good stuff. We have an ROI of 27.69% as well. That's a very good 27.69, very nice percentage. Let's hope we can end January with a hot streak. We've been profitable for 2 straight days now. 3 straight, actually, if you go back to the weekend. So let's hope we can keep it going. If you are not already, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So when we have another hot February, you are along for the ride. And then for this video specifically, comment, like, all that good stuff helps me out a ton. And let's get into today's slate. So as I mentioned, 4 more player props for today. The first one that we're going to go ahead and lock in here, this is in the Kings versus Heat game. And we're taking Domantas Sabonis under 18.5 points, minus 120 odds. This is at BetMGM. I will say, normally on this YouTube channel, I try to give out a bunch of plus money bangers. That's just not how the board fell today. So I'm going to have this one under play, and I'm going to have 3 plays that are actually for minus money. Only 1 plus money banger on this one. But I did really like the slate today. It's just kind of how it fell with the plus money plays specifically. Now getting into this individual play of the Domantas Sabonis one, I normally don't love taking something at minus 120 odds, but I think this is such a fade matchup, such a fade spot for Sabonis that I'm comfortable with it. It was generally a pretty good price when you compare the minus 120 at BetMGM towards every other book. And again, this is such a smash underplay that I'm cool with it. Targeting center under point props against the Heat is something that we have done a couple times, not every single night or anything like that, but it is a matchup that we have targeted. The Heat just don't give up a lot of points on the interior. Their perimeter defense isn't great, but on the interior, they're phenomenal. And centers like Sabonis, who can't shoot, they just don't score on the Heat. On the entire year, the Miami Heat have given up the 2nd fewest points per game to centers in the NBA. And even if you look at recent stats, they've been good. 9 of the last 12 centers against the Heat have gone under their point total over-under. That includes bench guys who have an over-under of 4.5, and that includes starters like Porzingis as well. If you just look at the center and what their over-under for point total was, 9 of the last 12 have gone under. Prop.cash, which gives you the position and then how that defense guards the position relative to their player props, list the Heat as literally the toughest matchup in the NBA when it comes to center point props. And if you want to go even further, Courtside Pal, which is a website that I find phenomenal that I like to look at for even more intricate data, they list the Heat as a tough matchup as well. The Heat give up the 2nd fewest points per game to someone of Sabonis's shooting profile, and literally the fewest points per game to someone of his scoring profile. Now, I mentioned this in a lot of videos. I don't want to bore returning viewers that know what this means, but long story short, shooting and scoring, they measure 2 different things. Shooting profile measures where the player takes shots from, regardless of whether they go in or not. Scoring profile actually takes into account skill and measures where they actually score from. So they're 2 different stats, both important to look at. Both show the Heat as a very tough matchup for someone like Sabonis. The 19 or more points, this is something that Sabonis has hit in 6 of his last 10 games. But he's only hit it in 1 of his last 4. And what I like about it is he did hit it in this most recent game. So it's not like he's missed it in 3 straight or anything like that. He hit it in his last game. That makes me want to fade those recent results. I think this is a smash play for Sabonis to go under. Since January 10th, the Heat have only allowed 3 centers to reach 19 or more points. All 3 of those could shoot, like Porzingis and Chet Holmgren are 2 of the 3. Sabonis can't shoot, so I think he's really going to struggle against the Heat tonight. I absolutely love taking his under. That's our first play. Next up in the Bucks versus Blazers game, I'm taking Dame Lillard over 26.5 points, minus 105 odds at ESPN Bet. Now for the Bucks, it's going to be interesting to see what they look like and if they look any different with Doc Rivers as their head coach as opposed to Adrian Griffin, and specifically what that means for Dame and Giannis. Now, their first game with Doc admittedly wasn't a great start. They lost to the Nuggets in a game in which Dame only scored 18 points. Now, that was, again, a tough matchup in Denver, who do a good job guarding point guards. So I'm not completely scared off just from that one game. On the entire season, Dame runs about 10 pick and rolls per game. That's the 8th highest in the NBA. And if I had to guess, I would guess that that number is actually going to increase, because when Doc was in Philly, all he did was run pick and rolls with James Harden and Joel Embiid. So I think he's going to do something similar with Dame and Giannis. Maybe that means we should target Dame assists moving forward. But for this specific matchup against the Blazers, I actually like him as a scorer as opposed to a playmaker. If you look at the entire season, it doesn't look like the Blazers are that great of a matchup, that juicy of a matchup for point guards. On the entire season, they're allowing the 7th most points per game to point guards, which obviously top 7 is still not that good, but it's not top 5, top 1 like we normally try to target. But over the past month, that number skyrockets up. In the past 30 days, the Blazers are allowing literally the most points per game to point guards. And according to Courtside Pal, the Blazers are allowing the 5th most points per game to someone of Dame's scoring profile. And if you look at his playmaking style, the 11th fewest. So that's kind of why I'm looking at his points as opposed to his assists. The Blazers have been bad recently, slowing down point guards, and they also seem to do a decent job, not great, against playmaking style of Dame's as well. Now, looking at Dame, he hasn't cleared this in 3 straight games. All 3 of those were tough defenses, like the Cavs, like the Pelicans, and then the Nuggets, like I mentioned. So I like this as a bounce back spot for him. Hopefully he comes through for us, cashes 27 or more points. Next up, Clippers versus Wizards game. James Harden, over 9.5 assists, minus 105 odds at BetMGM. I went with James Harden on Monday. He came through for us. I went with James Harden last week. He came through for us. I'm going to keep backing James Harden as long as we keep finding a good price. I see no reason why to move away from the James Harden train, especially in one of the best matchups in the entire NBA when it comes to point guard assist props. Technically, if you look at the positional data, Harden is listed as a shooting guard for the Clippers. We all know he runs the point guard for the Clippers, and we all know how on fire he's been from a playmaking perspective recently. I probably sound like a broken record, but if you are new to my channel or you just don't remember, Harden has hit 10 or more assists in 4 of his last 5 games. He's also hit it in 6 of his last 10 as well. His assist hot streak started on December 29th. Since that date, he has played in 15 games. He has hit 10 or more assists in 10 of those 15 games. And it's something that we're getting for minus 105 odds. So the books haven't quite caught up to how well Harden has been playing, at least from an odds perspective. Since that date, December 29th, he's averaging 10.1 assists per game. That's the 4th most in the NBA in that span, and he's averaging about 14.4 potential assists in that span as well. Now for this matchup, he gets the benefit of going up against the Wizards, who are a train wreck of a defense and absolutely a team that you want to target for point guard assist props. On the year, the Wizards have given up the 2nd most assists in the NBA to opposing point guards. And if you isolate the data for the past month, it's even worse. Over the past 30 days, they are allowing literally the most assists per game to opposing point guards. So I know I keep riding with Harden, and I know that if you know my personal feelings, I'm not a huge Harden guy, but from a betting perspective, from an assist perspective, he's been phenomenal recently. So I'm going to keep going with that. Hopefully he continues to cash for us. Lastly, our 4th and final pick of the slate, Bulls versus Hornets. I'm taking Nikola Vucevic over 18.5 points, plus 115 odds at ESPN Bet. Finally, for our last play, we had to go with the juiciest odds. We had to go with a plus money banger. Granted, plus 115 normally isn't as juicy as we normally get, but that's, again, how the board fell. And I really, really do like this play for Vooch. If you want to pump him up to 20 points for a little bit better odds, more than welcome to do so. It's a great matchup against the Hornets. On the entire year, the Hornets are giving up the 2nd most points per game to centers in the NBA and the 3rd most over the past month. So not like they've gotten any better recently. Props.cash lists the Hornets as the 2nd best matchup in the NBA when it comes to center point props. And digging even further into this, which I always like to do with Courtside Pal, still a good matchup. According to Courtside Pal, the Hornets give up the most points per game to someone of Vooch's scoring profile. Granted, only the 11th most to someone of his shooting profile. So shooting profile doesn't quite look as juicy as scoring profile, but scoring profile matches up with everything else that we see with the Hornets, and that you want to target your centers against them. Now, the Bulls are on the second half of a back-to-back. As of right now, there is no injury designation for Vooch or anybody that would seem to be that crazy for the Bulls tonight. And on back-to-backs, he should play 30 plus minutes. And he's generally played pretty well on back-to-backs as well. He's played 7 times this year. He's been on the second half of a back-to-back. He's gone over 18.5 points in 4 of those 7 games. And he's averaging just under 20 points in those 7 games as well. Now, recently, he has missed it in 2 straight games. Those of you that know me know that makes me want to buy in on him even more, because the prior 2 games, he did go over, and he also went over in the previous 3 of 4 games, again, heading in to this 2-game stretch. So the fact that he's missed it in 2 straight games, that just makes me want to buy the dip and bet the other side of it. I think Vooch is a smash spot to have a great game tonight. So we got 2 smash spots, 1 smash under for Sabonis, 1 smash over for Vooch, 2 centers whose point props I like in for opposite directions, and then 2 other plays as well, 4 total. And that's all we got. 4 bangers for you guys to lock in, and make sure to like the video, subscribe, comment if you are not already. And if you've made it this far, the last thing I want to mention is if you like the picks that I give out, but you don't want to watch the YouTube video, or you just want them texted to you immediately, I do have a dub club in which I send plays out. It's only $5 a month. The logic there is that, again, if you want to play the stuff that I am playing, but you don't want to watch the video, you don't have time, or you just want it immediately, you can subscribe to my dub club. Again, it's $5 a month. I'm not trying to sell you any VIP picks package. Everything that I give out on dub club, I give out on YouTube for completely free. So it just depends how you want it. But a lot of people, if they watch the video, the odds change and stuff like that. So they just said, hey, can you send stuff out early? Which I am doing. Again, it's only $5 a month. However you want it, you can get it. Just wanted to mention that last part. And that's all I got. So again, appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.